This beach is home to a plethora of turtle nesting grounds, sea turtle nesting grounds. And you might know this, you might not know this, but sea turtles have what are called ancestral nesting grounds, which means that a female will return to where she was born to lay her eggs on the same beach. This is one of those beaches. Generations after generations of turtles were born on this beach to go off, live their lives, many of which not surviving till adulthood due to a number of factors, environmental, but a lot of them related to pollution. 1 out of every 1,000 is the exact statistic will make it to adulthood. A female will lay around, I believe it depends on the species, but leatherbacks, which are native to this beach, lay 200 to 300 eggs at a time. And so it's more than likely, statistically speaking, that none of her babies will survive. But she will lay more eggs, and what would it be? I guess 4 to 5 batches. The odds start to lean a little more in her favor. And that's a thing about, insurmountable odds, but large numbers, is that it makes the impossible possible. It's the same thing with alien life, or life, period. The conditions for life to survive are so infinitesimally niche. It would seem impossible that life could ever survive, and yet, because there are so many opportunities for those conditions to come about, so many stars, so many planets, it becomes inevitable, and we are the living proof of that. A miracle, just like those sea turtles who end up laying eggs. It's miraculous. Some species of sea turtles live some over 100 years. In some cases, usually, like green sea turtles live to like 70 to 90 years, but they grow over 100 years. And so, with them reaching maturity after about 20 to 30 years, it's possible that, it's very unlikely, but it is possible that one of these sea turtles could meet her great grandkids, maybe even great great grandkids. Not sure if the math lines up. We can figure it out. But definitely great grandkids. It's impossible, but it's not. It's a lottery situation. when sea turtles reach reproductive maturity, they begin their journey home. They swim thousands of miles from their feeding grounds all the way back here to beaches just like this one, where they were born, the same beach. That is the most incredible demonstration of perseverance, of intuition ever. It is just a unmistakable sign of the intelligence of life on this planet, the intelligence of this planet. This is a superorganism we're all a part of. Everything is connected, everything is related by blood. By blood. In the same way that you are related to your mother and that she is related to you. It is exactly the same. When I was a kid, I came to this beach and I watched sea turtles give birth. They don't give live birth, but it's the same thing. I watched her lay her eggs, crawling up out of the water, up onto the sandbank at night under the moon, and she digs a hole. She lays her eggs, she buries them, and then she leaves. She goes back, never to even greet her children as they enter the world. Like her mother did. And as far back as you can go. Back to the point where they weren't even turtles anymore. These animals have always amazed me and have always I've always adored them. I've always adored sea turtles. And I've known for a long time that they return to their ancestral nesting grounds. But I didn't know how until yesterday, actually. And that's what's inspired me to make this video in the first place. I was curious as to how it's even possible that an animal would ever be able to find their way back to a specific beach that they spent less than a day at, their first day. Imagine trying to, when you're 30, go find the same hospital you were born at without even ever knowing your mom or even speaking any language, having any type of communication with anyone, just knowing and finding it, succeeding. And so I wondered how that would even be possible. And the answer is even more fascinating, or even more hard to believe that something like, oh, they remember, they just remember. And it kind of is the case that they remember, but it's also so insane. It has to do with the Earth's magnetic field. And every place on planet Earth has a different geomagnetic signature. And when the turtle is born, she imprints on it in the same way that animals imprint on their parents. They form a bond with their birthplace, and they remember. And so they go off, live their lives, and when it's time to return, they follow a feeling. And exactly how they can detect the geomagnetism is still kind of debated, but one of the leading theories is that it's the same way birds are able to detect it, and that's through these microscopic crystals in their cells, which are like little compasses that allow them to find the way. I think what all of this points to, or let me take a step back. I think in general, learning how nature works is a boundless, ceaseless wellspring of wonder and amazement. It's always accessible if we are simply willing to follow our curiosity. The answers to the mysteries of this living world that we are a part of, that we evolved with, are waiting to be discovered. The answers are waiting to be discovered. And I find that universally, the reason behind everything in nature, it points to these themes, almost like poetic narratives, like literary or like literary narratives. And not to get super corny, but it all leads back to love. But it's not love in a cheesy sense. It's an unbearable love. It is so raw and so real and so uncontainable. You just fall to your knees like botflies. They're a horrifying animal. They lay their eggs in the skin of mammals, in their wounds. And those eggs hatch larvae which burrow into the skin and feed on the mammal's flesh and grow. And then they wriggle out and it's so horrid. And yet it's because she wants her babies to survive. And it's warm. We can't even accept that. it's hard for us to accept how intense that is. And that's what I mean. Because it is love. In some form or another. I don't know if flies can experience love. Maybe they can, maybe they can't, but regardless, it's a maternal instinct to preserve the life of their children. And that is it's sacred. If anything is sacred, it's that. You don't have to believe in God. I don't even know if I really believe in God. In some ways I do, but probably not in the way that most people who say they do. But I do believe in nature. I don't need to believe. I don't believe in the sense that I put faith in this invisible thing. I know nature. It's apparent. And nature is sacred. It is profoundly raw. And it is a raw love. The sea turtles returning home, laying their eggs, even though it's most likely that none of her babies will survive. And yet, she does it because there's a chance that one of them will. And she will return to where she was born. She will return and do it all over again. Because she remembers the feeling of the Earth's aura in that spot. That magnetic fingerprint. It calls her back to that ancestral nesting ground where she honors her mother and her mother's mother and her mother's mother's mother all the way back. If you ever feel lost, remember that this is what you are. The turtle is your cousin. I'm your cousin too. We're all related by blood. This land, this birthplace, this ancestral nesting ground, this planet. It is sacred. It is sacred in a way that is too much for us to handle sometimes. But that is why we must honor it. Why we must bow in reverence to it. Not because it tells us to, but because you feel it. Not in a way that you bow to a insecure and judgmental God. In the way that you fall to your knees when you see a beautiful sunset or a powerful waterfall. Because it is awe-inspiring. It is rapturous. This earth is our mother. So that's it. Just know you're home. And you belong.